Hello, cherished viewers. We believe that you've been enjoying our Education USA Ghana Facebook Live sessions since we started May last year. Education USA Ghana always brings you exciting news from higher educational institutions and our students. We will continue to do that. If this is your first time joining Education USA Ghana Facebook Live session, we say welcome on board. I believe you are curious to know more about Education USA. Education USA is a US government advising network which guides students through the process of furthering their education in the US. We give accurate, comprehensive, and current information. The network is in more than 175 countries and has about 550 advisors. In Ghana, we have two centers, Education USA Accra at the US Embassy and Education USA Kumasi at ACE Consult. My name is Margaret Nyako, and I am an Education USA advisor at Kumasi. My colleague advisor, who is also based at Education USA Accra, Benis Afute, is also here. Today, we are joined by our lovely students who are also our friends. They completed Arizona State University and they were all on the Mastercard Foundation Scholarship. They will be sharing their experiences with us. We have a lot in store for you today. Stay glued to your seats because we are bringing you all there is to know about studying in the US right where you are. To our cherished viewers, kindly type your questions in the comment section. Viewers, I welcome you all to this platform once again. My dear panelists, who will be the first to introduce himself today? Our viewers are waiting.
Well, I will.
Okay.
My name is Andrew Watten. I am a computer engineering PhD student at Arizona State University. And as Aunt Margaret said, I am an alumni of the Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program from Arizona State University.
I'll go second. My name is Jonas Sipeche. I am a Mastercard alumni. I did electrical engineering undergraduate at Arizona State, and I did my master's also in electrical engineering at Stanford, and now I'm working in Silicon Valley.
All right, and my name is Stephen Anoyafe. I had my undergraduate degree at Arizona State University, and I'm also currently a master's student in mechanical engineering at Stevens Institute of Technology in New Jersey, Hoboken.
Wow, this is great. You are all Arizona guys. So why Arizona State University? For Andrew, you decided to even continue your graduate school at Arizona, right?
Yes, I did.
Please share with us the secrets about Arizona State University.
Well, for starters, wherever there was funding, that was where I was going. So yeah, I got a full ride at Arizona State University. So that was the first catch. I got admission into other schools, but the funding, and also I was promised that there was going to be a community of people from different countries and a lot of people, diversity. And that was one of the main things that led me to coming to Arizona State. It was also the biggest public university at the time. So I knew I was going to get a lot when it comes to diversity and different ideas. That's why I chose ASU.
Yeah, I will reiterate what Andrew said. It's all about where you get funding, right? But I think also Arizona, for my course for electrical engineering, Arizona State did some of the best sort of research in solar technology and stuff. So when I was doing my research, when I was preparing for school, I think ASU was on top of my list because of these reasons. Also, there's not going to be any winter or snow, right? So if you want warm weather, it gets too warm sometimes, but if you want warm weather, you want to go to Arizona State. Stephen.
Well, obviously, like my colleagues have said, funding is number one priority. And so once you have funding, naturally you'll be drawn towards it. But then apart from that, as Mastercard Foundation scholars, we I think the number one thing that personally drew me towards Arizona State is the fact that it has a very good reputation with reference to academic excellence. And recently, it's been nominated as the most innovative school in the US for probably more than about 4 to 5 times every year. That's 5 times every year. And so for academic excellence, it's number one. It's one of the biggest public universities in the US. Also, the diversity, the number of students from other countries traveling to Arizona State to study is a lot from all different backgrounds. And so it also gives you the chance to meet people from different backgrounds and kind of interact to also learn from their cultures while you also share your culture with them. And so those are the two main factors that made me decide on whether to go to Arizona State or not. And I'm glad I made that decision to go to Arizona State.
Well, let me chip in here. Talking about diversity, right? So I joined the soccer club when I came here. And once I went to the dining hall, we were 29 people from 21 different countries. So it was so nice that we are like 21 countries gathered around the same table, eating together. It was very nice and fun.
Good. Good hearing this. Now, our viewers are interested in knowing how you got in, since we know that Arizona State University, ASU, is a very competitive public university. So we want you to share with us the processes you went through.
All right. So the process, as most of us know, it is very similar to all the other schools. You identify the program you want to do. You get your documents that you need. You write all your essays. And one thing that we should know is that ASU is one school that's very competitive. However, you if you do your work, if you do your best, you know that there's a high chance you're going to get admitted. Our president has it as his mantra that he actually measures the success by the number of people that he includes in the school and how they succeed, not the number of people that he excludes from the school. So if you do your best and put in work for the application, there's a chance that you get in. Talking about my experience, I actually, when I went to Education USA Kumasi and I decided I was going to go to ASU, the advisors there told me about the long essays that I had to write, and they actually prepared me for that. So one thing that you should know that you're going to write essays. You're going to write essays. You won't just fill forms. You write essays and you communicate with advisors and admission officers. But definitely it pays off.
Yeah, so I think I will add the SATs. I think SAT, ACT, all the standardized tests. I don't know what they're requiring for school right now, but definitely I think having some standardized tests with your essays and your applications also give you a good chance.
And then in addition to what my colleagues have said, I think that one common feedback I've been receiving from most students who want to study in the US is whether they can go through the entire process on their own or not. Personally, and knowing the stories of my colleagues here, I would say that it's very important to go through an agency, a certified one, of course, just like Education USA office in Kumasi, because the entire process, even though not super difficult, but then you do need somebody with that experience who've helped students to be able to obtain admission and also funding to guide you through the process. I would give much credit to Education USA office, where I received most of the support from. Even though I had plans of studying in the US, I never knew what steps to take to be able to do that until when they visited my high school back in 2012 at Prempeh College to kind of give an orientation of opportunities in the US and how we could take advantage of it. That's when I decided, well, after high school, I visited their office. They gave me a general orientation of what steps and what needs to be done. I followed their lead, and then here I am today, having completed my bachelor's at Arizona State. and currently undertaking my master's degree. And so seek guidance and seek it from the right source, which is either Education USA office in Kumasi, if you're based in Ashanti region or its environs, or either in Education USA office in Accra.
Seek guidance. Education USA is there to help you. So let's move on. Some students think that you need to be rich to study in the US. In your own opinion, is that a myth?
It actually is. The reason is when I decided that I wanted to go to US, it's always been something that I wanted to do, but I had no plan with it. Then one girl that I used to play soccer with when I was a child just told me, "Oh, I'm going to write my SATs." I was like, we all come from here. Your mom is a nurse. My mom sells kinky. So how are you going to go to the US? Then I followed her to Education USA Kumasi one day, and I realized that it's a whole process. You don't need to be wealthy to be able to go to school in the US. Actually, you need to find the right sources of funding and the right guidance, and you'll be able to go there. As I said, my mom sells skincare, and my father switches between driving trucks and trotro. So I'm a typical, you don't even travel from Kumasi to Accra guy. But I think my story is enough to tell you that you don't need to be wealthy to be able to go to school in the United States.
Yeah, so I agree with Andrew. I mean, there are some people, like I've met people from Nigeria and whose parents pay for the education. They pay cash, right? And if you are like me and you're not one of those people, you would have to do the work, right? So you would have to study, take these classes for the SATs, work on your essays and look for funding and stuff. But it's doable. I mean, there's a lot of people that have done it, so you can also do it.
Yeah, there's a lot of funding available to support students to pursue the education in the USA. And I think the number one thing is for you to invest time into researching about these funding opportunities, because if you don't put in that effort to find it, no one else will do it for you. In my case, when I went to Education University office in Kumasi, it was around the same time that I think it was a year after the Mastercard Foundation Scholarship had been launched. And luckily, during the orientation, they made me aware, well, there was a scholarship like this available. They guided me, but I also had to put in the effort to read more about the scholarship, look at the selection criteria, requirements, and then seek advice from them to be able to submit strong application, because you should know that, number one, even if the scholarship is strictly for Ghanaians, right? You're not the only Ghanaian applying. There could be 30 or 40 of them, and the scholarship is limited to, let's say, 5 or 10 people. And so your application should also count. Just to confirm what my colleagues have said before, it's a myth to believe that you need to be rich to be able to study in the US. I'm the son of farmers. Both of my parents are farmers, and so just imagine how I could have had the opportunity to study in the US if I decided to rely on funding from my parents alone, if it wasn't for the support of the Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program. And so what I really want to say is that put in the effort to research about other funding opportunities that is available out there. Read about it, ask questions to either the Education USA office in Accra or in Kumasi, speak to a supervisor or an advisor, and find out how best they can help you submit the strongest application of all to be able to win some of these funding.
Thank you. You're all talking about funding, funding, funding. I believe that viewers are interested in knowing more about the funding. So let's quickly switch to that. How did you fund your education?
Well, I think we've mentioned our scholarships. We were part of the Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program. I was part of the third cohort. I actually went to Education USA Kumasi one day, as I said, and then Aunt Marilyn just happened to be in the office and was asking random questions, as she always is, just comes and just engage. So she told me that there's going to be an information session I went, and then we saw some people from ASU, from US, from Mastercard offices. I had a chance to talk to them, and you should know how to say your story. So I had a chance to talk to them and everything. And after some time, when the application opened, the Education USA Center made us aware. So when we applied, and I was getting some emails back. Actually, you need to do some follow-up sometimes. I was getting emails back, and I was asking a lot of questions. Asking questions actually lets them know that you are very much interested and you are up for the scholarship. So I think, personally, I think at a point in time, I was actually bothering them. So I paused a little bit, and eventually, I think I will tell you my story eventually, how I received my scholarship notification and the joy that came with it. So yeah, mine was through the Mastercard Foundation scholarship, and I had to write. I still remember I had to write 12 essays for that. Some were short, but some were long. But even with just the essay writing, I think it's not just for the scholarship. It actually helps you orient yourself. It helps you think through what you want to do in the future, and it also helps you get a good scholarship.
Yeah. So one thing I learned was after high school, I had to take this process doesn't take just one weekend, right? It takes multiple months. Like if you want to start school, let's say 2022 August, you will need to start looking at universities right now, right? You need to start looking at fund opportunities. Just go online, just go on the internet and just Google funding opportunities for undergraduate students from Africa or something. You find multiple you'll find multiple avenues, and yeah, just do your research. This takes months and months, right? I happened to also stumble upon the Mastercard scholarship program, and I was in Sunyane, so I never had a chance to actually talk with Education USA or anything. So I was just in my house, right? I'll go to the cafe, and then I'll apply, and then I'll come back home. So you can do it. You can do your own research, and you can um, send in your own applications. And of course, if you have Education USA, it makes matters way simpler, right? Because they'll give you the guidance, and you don't have to bump your head like I did.
Well, there's a lot of funding opportunities available, like I previously said, and then also these funding opportunities come in different categories. So there is sports scholarship, there is academic scholarship, there is need-based, there is blind scholarships. Now, all these scholarships are available for you to pursue, but then, like I said before, you need to do your research. What category do you fall into? Are you the grade A student? Your scholarship is available. Are you the financially incapable students, kind of coming from more of a poor background, financial background? Your scholarship is there. If you're sports, if you're into track and field, whatever thing that you can do, there is funding for it. But then you need to know how to tell your story to be able to effectively communicate how what you can do would complement your academic background and then make you successful after graduation, which is very similar to what Andrew said. And that is why initially I suggested that you need guidance, because having the guidance of Education USA or an academic advisor would enable you to be able to put your story accordingly to make sure that you're actually communicating what you want to say. All right. So personally, I'm also from the Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program. I know I had to invest a lot of time reading about quotes about Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, because I think in one of my essays I said I wanted to be president of Ghana. So I had to find quotes about Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. I had to read about previous presidents and leaders in Ghana to see what they did well, what they did not do well. The time investment is a lot. There would be a little bit of financial investment, but then don't let that be an obstacle for you, because if you're able to put in enough time investment and also seek guidance, the reward would be more than whatever you invested. I don't even remember, I don't even regard how much time I had to put in anymore because the reward I've received from that dedication is way beyond what I would have lost if I had never put in that effort.
Great. So you are all saying that there are funding opportunities out there. John says we should do a lot of research. I think Stephen also said the same thing. Now, my question is, how easy was it to get scholarships or funding for your education?
So it's actually, so one thing that I keep on telling, I have a brother that I keep on telling him is that we spend too much time on Facebook and Instagram. The same data that we use to go to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter is the same data that people are actually getting full scholarship with. So you need to search for the scholarships. Right now, we can just talk about few scholarships, but when you go online, there are unlimited the number of scholarships that you can actually consider, and most of them you will qualify. So the most important thing was actually researching. You research and find the scholarships available. Another thing too is, I think Stephen and I already mentioned it, know how to tell your story. Know how to tell your story. When we went to Education USA, I think this also was talking to someone like, so what did you do after school? Nothing. This also was like, so you didn't do anything? Then it was like, oh, I was just sitting at my mother's provision store. This also was like, that's your story. You just need to say it well, very well. It comes to experience. I helped manage my mother's provision store, writing the right words, right adjectives, and they will get your story. So getting to know how to say your story and doing a lot of research. So I won't say it's super easy, but I won't also say it's super difficult. It's just the right amount of easiness.
Yeah, there's not much to add to what Andrew has said. Just go do it.
Yeah, it's all about knowing how to tell your story. The other thing is, for now, it's becoming more competitive. It's not that difficult to get a scholarship, but it's becoming more competitive because many people are already aware that scholarships exist. And so they need to make themselves more competitive to be able to win some of these funding. What are they doing to make themselves competitive? And what are you doing to make yourself competitive to be able to challenge or compete with these other people from different countries applying for the same scholarship that you also need? I'll tell you a quick story about when I was in Prempeh College, right? And I think this is a general thing that we should be able to emulate. Now, I was a member of the cadet corps. I was in the debaters club. I was in the literary club. I was in track and field. I was running long distance for Prempeh College. Now, when I was doing all these, in addition to my academic work, people thought I was wasting my time. And personally, I didn't have any reason for doing those. I just loved them and I did them for fun. I didn't know that they would come together one day to help me create the story that I needed to tell to be able to win some of these scholarships. Because when you're applying to these scholarships, they're going to ask you whether you have leadership experience. What other extracurricular activities have you been involved in while in school? Are you only going to school to study? Do you socialize? So these extracurricular activities would help to tell the scholarship review team that this is already they know the kind of person they want. You just need to present yourself to them in a way that would make them feel this is the type of student we need in our school. And so once you have all these different experiences, it will let them know, well, for somebody like me who did 4 or 5 different activities in school, definitely they would know that I'm very social, right? It's easy for me to make friends in a new community. It's very easy for me to do many other things they may expect. And so one thing I would highly encourage you is, if you're still in school, try to get yourself involved in leadership activities or extracurricular activities, something that you could always add to your application. Or even if you are done with school, you could engage yourself in community service activities, join volunteer groups, join social clubs, and have fun. But then eventually all these different things, a lot of things you'll be doing would come together to create a wonderful story for yourself.
Auntie Margaret, before you go on with the
Please go
volunteering,
ahead.
let me say something about that. So, um, I I remember when we were applying for schools in the U.S., we were a group of people that we met at Education USA, and the advisor realized that most of us didn't have a volunteering experience. So what she did was that she made us actually organize volunteering activities. We went to Bepa SDA senior high school to help them to teach some of their science classes. We went with the Road Tract Club at KNUST to do a blood donation exercise, and we did some cleanup exercises. So I will say it's not too late to get some volunteering in on your resume. It's never too late. Even if you've not done anything, you can start doing something so you can write about it.
Yeah,
Great.
I think the term for that is multi-purpose. If you're trying to do a lot of things at the same time, that's how they call you. Trying to discourage you. But I would say, hey, you know what you're looking for. So let them say whatever they want to say, and then keep on doing what you want to do.
Thank you very much, guys. I still have another question for you. So for students applying for undergraduate and graduate schools, what's the best approach to get a lot of funding?
Well, there's this thing that people don't know. First, actually, funding and scholarships are also negotiable. Just like you're going to buy something in the market, the person says, I'm selling for 100 cities. You say, I have 70 cities. Let's talk about it. Scholarships and fundings are also negotiable. This is an example. You get into two schools. You want school A, but school B is actually giving you more funding. So what you usually do is that you talk to them. I want to come to a school, but school B is giving me more funding. Actually, this is the amount. Can you match it? You are allowed to negotiate. You are actually allowed to negotiate, and I've seen results of that. Even international students like us that negotiated and they got more funding. Also, I think for graduate school, before I applied for my graduate schools, what I was doing was that I was looking at the professors that were doing the things I was interested in, and I was emailing them, talking to them. I got this idea because when I was in undergrad, one of the dorms I lived with a graduate student. So when I asked him how he got into ASU grad school with full funding, he showed me his letter, and the letter was like, so this professor has agreed to fund me. So before he even applied, he had talked to the professor. The professor had checked his resume and was ready to fund him in his lab. So that's one thing that graduate students can do. You look at the professors that are working in the field, you talk to them, you know them. Some of them will give you their word that I'm going to fund you, just apply. So that's one way to do it. Sometimes you have to go more aggressive. Me, I was fortunate that when I was applying for grad school, I was already here in the US. So I actually walked to the professor's labs. I knocked. My name is Andrew. I want to work in your lab. You have funding. This is my resume. I did 2 majors at ASU and all the stuff. Then I got professors that are ready to let me be in their lab on research assistantship.
Yeah. I think once you get your foot in the door for undergraduates, it's relatively easier compared to what you have to do to get into the undergraduate program to do, say, a PhD or master's. So but if you are in Ghana right now, if you already have your undergraduate and you're only doing master's or PhD, I think, as Andrew said, it's all about the faculty, because for graduate schools, the money is with the faculty. So you just email them, look at what they're working on, their research opportunities, the students under them, and just email them with your resume and like interest and stuff. So I think you have to contact them first. And once they agree, then you apply to the school or something. Or you can also just apply to, especially for PhDs, you can apply and then you pick professors that you want to work under. And then the school will pay you with the professors. But I think it helps a bunch if you already talk to the faculty, if they already know your name and you've just been conversing with them. So
I would also add that regardless of whatever level of education that you would be applying for in the US, know that you're applying with many other students from different countries. And to every school, all of you are just strangers, in quotes. You need to establish a form of connection between you and the school, so your name always rings a bell in the admissions in the admissions office or something like that. How to do that is that, first of all, with the guidance of Education USA, identify what schools you want to go to based on maybe academic selection, state, whatever the reason is. Identify those schools, do your own research about the international academic advisors. Make a quick biography of yourself. My name is Mr. ABC. I studied general science at Opoku School. I in school, I participated in this number of activities, or I held this particular leadership role. Something convincing, not that long, but very short. And send it to these, let them know this is what you want to come to their school and study. Once you send that email to them, I mean, most of the time you would get a response. Remember, you're not the only person submitting such an email, so it's possible it might be lost along the way. But about 90% of the time, you're going to get a response from these international admission advisors. Once you get a response, that's your initial connection. Good for you. Then you find out how to maintain that connection between you and them. So whatever advice you need or information you need from the school, this person becomes your direct contact. And then you also relay whatever information they give you to the Education USA's office, so that at every point, because you've already established that customer-friendly relationship with the advisors, it's easy for them to let you know of funding opportunities that are available. I did the same thing. Even though I had heard about the Mastercard Foundation Scholarship, I could not find, I did a lot of research, I could not find exact application link to ASU when I was ready to apply. However, when I sent the email to one of the academic advisors, in their response, they said, hey, Stephen, there's a scholarship like this available for you, which you do qualify. This is the link, make sure you apply. That was it. Number one, I had already introduced my staff in the school, and I'm probably sure my name was ringing a bell in their mind, right? And so that is how you're able to establish connection between you and the school, even though you are not physically present in the US. That way you will be able to leverage on your abilities to get either funding or admission.
Thank you very much, guys. So were you still being funded during the lockdown? How did you survive in terms of finances as a student? We are interested in knowing.
Well, so I'm a research assistant and also a teaching assistant. So during COVID, actually we increased, most schools went online. So many students were able to come to school because they were staying at home. So actually that's how I funded myself. I was a teaching assistant, and when you're a teaching assistant, you get either your school fees slashed for you or you have some financial compensation. So I was doing teaching assistantship and research assistantship just as pre-COVID. Nothing changed that much. You could just see that people were more frustrated and other stuff. But for the funding opportunities, I mean, when you talk to professors, you realize that the funding were not coming, honestly, but they had to provide. So that's what happened with me.
I wasn't a student during the lockdown, so I can't speak to this. So.
All right. Similar to what Andrew said, once there is that agreement that they are funding you, funding may not be readily available, but then they will look for alternate ways to make sure that your program, you are able to continue your program, and that the funding duration and amount is also sustained. The most important thing is for you to be able to get admission, then travel here to start your education. Whatever happens in between wouldn't be much of a problem.
Right. So some students feel that once you get funding, that is all. No need to study hard. Our viewers would like to know if this statement is true. We need to know the reality on the ground, guys.
Well, there's no free lunch, right? So you get the funding. It's pretty much a contract. So your part of the contract that you have to do is maintain your academics. Most funding has a GPA cutoff. Mastercard had some. Actually, I thought it wasn't in place until one guy from Cote d'Ivoire was sent home, because on academic basics. And you see that in USA, they give you chance. They give you benefit of the doubt. You don't do well this semester, they'll let you go another semester. You don't do, they'll put you on probation. But amongst after all those things, if you still don't change your attitude towards studies and you don't do well, then they have no other option than to cut you off. So yeah, you have to study to maintain some of these funding. There are some other local fundings that are based on other things. But I think as an international student, most of your funding is going to be based on your academics when you come here. And you see that the nice thing is that the GPA cutoff is usually not a very high cutoff. It's something that with moderate studies you'll be able to maintain. And some people come here with a view that, oh, studying in the US is not difficult, so I'm not going to study. It's actually not difficult because we study. So you need to study to maintain a specific GPA so that your funding will be upheld.
Yeah, I have an issue. I guess my question to someone who will ask this question is, why are you studying in the US anyway, right? You're here to work hard. Right. I think your funding or your scholarship isn't the only thing you have to worry about, because you need good grades. First of all, you need good grades to get into grad school. You need good grades to get a job. You need good grades for basically everything if you want to sort of feather your life. So I think it's a no-brainer for you to work hard, because you need it to get further in life, right? You can't just, I mean, you can just, of course, if you don't do well, your scholarship will send you home, but it shouldn't get to that point. It's basically what I'm saying, right?
Whatever funding you get is given to you for a particular reason, and it is your responsibility to meet the requirements of that type of funding. So in short, I would say that even if you receive a sports scholarship, you are still expected to perform very good academically, because the number one reason for which you received admission to the school was on academic basis to study. Whatever you do afterwards is more of an extracurricular activity, something that you're doing to enhance your social life, or enhance or promote your other abilities. And so academic is number one, any other thing comes second.
So did ASU meet your expectations, guys?
It actually did. I think ASU has given me some lifelong friends and connections. I knew I was coming to a more diverse environment, and I was impressed when I got here. I saw how beautiful the place is. I met nice people. I met Stephen, I met John, and since I met John, we've been working on projects together. We didn't know each other in Ghana, but now we work on projects. Actually, right now, whenever I have anything, I know the right person to call because I came to Arizona State and I have that diversity of friends. So it actually met my expectation. There's something that overmet my expectation, though. I knew it was a warm place, but yeah, it was warmer than I was expecting, which coming from Ghana, I was hoping I wouldn't go to the snowy areas and schools have to be closed due to snow. And I think, yeah, things here. Also, yeah, there's a strong Ghanaian community around here, not just students, but around here, when you go, you meet a lot of quote unquote uncles and aunties around a lot, and they take care of you. When you're hungry, you need some wache, you need some jollof rice. You almost always know where to go, the right auntie to call.
Yeah, so one thing I will stress on is the networking. I think we don't stress about networking enough, especially if you go to high school in Ghana and start be like, oh, you should study and study and study, which is important. But I think networking is also as important as studying, because as Andrew said, knowing who to go to, knowing who to ask a question, is very, very important. I think for education at ASU, it's really you get out what you put in. Honestly, for education anywhere, you get out what you put in. Some people come, some people don't study as hard, and they don't get as much from it, right? But we, knowing where we are from, we know we are here for a purpose. So you truly get out what you put in, and you can do very great things if you put in the work.
Yeah, that's all they've said. I think it's a great thing, and ASU, it's well, I would say ASU believes in you as a student more than you believe in the school, because they would create every necessary enabling environment for you to succeed. They would give you multiple chances, multiple avenues for you to succeed. And so it's up to you to take advantage of all those available resources, and make something out of it. Apart from academics, they have the entrepreneurship section, where the school has a set aside funding to support student ideas, to support students to nurture their ideas into successful businesses. And so it's up to you to identify all these available resources and select which of them you would want to move closer to and take advantage of. It's the best. It gave me the best experience ever, and I'm glad I made that decision to go to ASU.
Great. Let's talk about internships. We have been hearing about internships. What is it? And at what point in your undergraduate journey did you do your internships?
Well, so when you talk about internships, it is pretty much you are in school. You're learning the quote unquote theory. You need to go to a company to learn the practice. And internship is not just learning about the practices. I actually, from my experience, it entails two other things: establishing the right connections so that after school, you get the right job. And two, knowing the places that you do not want to work after school. So I went to Ghana to do my internship. That's also some options. You can do your internships in US or internships in other countries. Me, I decided that I want to go. My goal is to live in Ghana as soon as possible, right? So I went to Ghana to do my internship, and it was a very good experience getting to know people. I'm from Kumasi. I hadn't really stayed in Accra, but when I came, I had to do my internship in Kumasi. I got the right connections, the right people. Actually, this year, I came to Ghana, and the people that I was really rolling with were the people that I met in my internship at Airtel Ghana in Accra. So internship is very important. It actually also, when you come back from internship, it makes you know what sort of things to learn, what sort of things to focus on, and it actually orients you. So that's my experience with internships.
Yeah. So as Andrew said, I would just add a little to what Andrew said. I think one of your best chances to getting an internship, if you want one, depending on your field of study, is getting research experience. So what I did when I started as a freshman during my first year, because I was interested in solar technology, I volunteered to work in a lab, right? So because you need all the credentials, because everyone that applies for internships is also pretty competitive. So you need that extra juice, right, on your resume. Everyone took the same classes. So many people had a 4.0 GPA. If you have a 4.0 GPA, right? So you need something else. And I think research experience or like leadership experience is a good sort of mix on your resume. I did my first internship third year third year, when I was a junior, I did my first internship here. So you can either do OPT or academic training based on your visa, which is what we'll talk about later. But yeah, I did my internship in Phoenix at some circuit design company, and it's once you have the classes and you have the research experience, I think it's pretty doable, I would say.
Yeah, it's easy to get, well, on the average, it's easy to get an internship. You could do it, like Andrew said, in your home country, in the US. Even in the US, there are multiple places you could take advantage of to have your internship. You could visit different professors whom you are interested in, conducting research with them right from your freshman year, and then start shadowing them to know the kind of things they do, to kind of give you a head start in the internship search. And so around that time, they would also look at you. Some of them can even recommend you to other companies, which is a very good thing, because once a recommendation is coming from your professor to another company, the company would obviously give you the opportunity to intern with them and kind of give you that experience that you would need for your OPT or CPT program.
You're on mute.
You're muted.
Thank you. How about OPT? We want to know more.
So OPT is pretty much it's how you get internship in the US as an international student. You're an international student, you may not be allowed to work, but the OPT gives you that window that you are allowed to actually work in an area that is related to what you're studying in school. It helps you. I think the full name is optional professional training, right? Something like that. So it's optional, but it's very much encouraged that you get such experience. One thing is that you can come to school for US in 4 years, have the intention of going back to Ghana or something to help, but you came to pretty much learn the theory. It's actually better that you get experience from their companies, not just the technical experience, but their practices, their culture, their attitude towards work. That's why some people will go from US to Ghana and they'll be so frustrated with how some bank tellers are treating them, or how some people are treating them, because they've experienced the attitude of workers in the US. So it's very good to take advantage of OPT.
Yeah, I think as an international student, getting an internship or getting some kind of experience is a must, because you need that. You just need that thing, so that extra thing. I did OPT for multiple years. I think it's just you fill in some paperwork. You need to get an internship, and then it's a slam dunk basically. But yeah, you need to get that internship experience. Also, a lot of internships also pay, right? So at least you also earn something while you're being a student.
All of them pay actually during summer. I think I was talking to someone and I wasn't allowed to do internship without getting paid for that job.
Yeah, so it's I think it's a win-win. You get experience, you get exposure, and then you get paid.
Yeah, that's it. In simple terms, that's what John has said. You get the exposure, you get paid, you get the experience. That's all you need to be able to progress in life after graduation.
Thank you for that. Let's quickly look at what our viewers are sending in, that is their questions, and then we can continue. I have a question here. Does one need to contact a supervisor before applying for PhD in the sciences? I think I would answer this. It is recommended for students to contact faculty or potential supervisors before they apply, but it is not a rule. And then there is another question, and I read, I am a second-class upper student from University of Education, Winnipeg. I want to proceed to do MPhil in early childhood education or related program. Can you help me out? So there is no MPhil in the US. We advise that you connect with the Education USA advising centers, and we'll be there to help you out. One last question. Is GRE and TOEFL or IELTS compulsory for Ghanaian students who want to do their masters and PhDs? I would say that is not compulsory. However, every school is different. Every school has its own budget and policies. So kindly check from your school and get to know the test, the standardized test that they are asking you to write. We have some schools that are test optional institutions. Guys, I have one question for you. So someone is asking, how different will you say the teaching and learning is at ASU to that of our universities here?
Well, that's a very nice question. I think I'm in the position to answer this question because I was at KNUST for I think a year and a half. Then I decided to stop and come here. So there are some differences. The first thing is that the A in ASU is 93%, and A at KNUST was 70%. But I was getting A's here, and I wasn't getting A's in KNUST. So the thing here is that our curriculum is such that by the end of the semester, some classes you even have the chance of not writing your final exam, and you still get an A because you got all your midterms, your homeworks, and everything. They put very much emphasis on homeworks. You do a lot of assignments. As compared to my experience in Ghana, we didn't do much assignments in Ghana. It was pretty much 30, 70, something like that for the midterm and the finals. So that's one thing. Also, the support here. We have resources. In ASU, we have the tutoring center that John used to work at the tutoring center, where let's say you're doing calculus, you go to class, you don't understand something, you go to the tutoring center. We have students that had taken the classes already, and they will help you with understanding it. They will help you with homeworks. The only thing that they are not allowed to help you is exams. So we have a lot of resources here for you. Also, the relationship with the professors here is very nice and easy. My favorite professor is called Angela. We text, we call each other, and we make jokes. I remember one time I was doing very bad in physics. I did very well in physics when I was in high school. So I was doing very bad, and I went to the professor's office. I was like, I wake up at 4 a.m. every day to study. Physics is like actually my stronghold. So why am I struggling? This teacher provided extra resources. I got A at the end of the semester. So yeah, it's the relationship is more of informal here. And I think it helps promote student success as compared to my experience in Ghana, where I actually went to only one office hours of the teacher because of my, I think there was a mistake in my grades. That's the only time I went to office hours. But in US here, at the beginning of every semester, I go to all my teachers' office hours. They have 2 hours a week that they are supposed to be there for you. So I go there and establish myself, let them know that I'm in their class, and I pretty much go to them for any help that I want. So those are the small nuances that I've recognized in our education systems.
I can add to this because I didn't do university.
Well, I think it's more of a practical based learning where you get a chance to actually put into practice whatever that you're studying in school or in class. They provide the resources, the materials. If it's lab, you have all the materials available that you could actually handle them and work with them to kind of give you that practical experience as compared to not having the materials available or having to learn everything theoretically and not being able to put it into practical use.
Great. So there is another question for you. Can on-campus employment be enough to fund some of my fees? They want to know.
Your fees.
I would.
Stephen.
All right. Well, I wanted to say no. It's a big no. Unemployment. Sorry. On-campus employment would not be enough. Number one, you're only allowed to work, I think, maximum of 20 hours a week if you're employed on campus, and so it wouldn't be enough to pay your tuition not to talk of your food and accommodation.
Okay.
Add to that, I think what that students may like, one thing that the student may be considering is, I don't know if he or she is considering being a teaching assistant or research assistant as an on-campus employment, which usually is not considered. But on-campus employment is pretty much working, let's say, in the library, working at a tutoring center, working at somewhere, and you're paid hourly, maximum of 20 hours a week. That thing, as Steven said, I think is only going to cover your food or something like that, your feeding costs. Um, but there are other employments that we don't call on campus, but is a school that is employing you, like the research assistant and the teaching assistant through your professor. Those ones are able to cover. Actually, in my department, if you have a full-time TA, your tuition and everything is covered, and you are given monthly stipend as well. If you have half TA, about 70% of your tuition and other things are covered and you're given stipend. So TA and research assistant should give a lot, but just the 20 hours on campus job will not be able to fund anything.
Okay. So there is one student who would want to know, at what point did you guys apply for scholarships? Was it before or after the admission, or if you want to apply? So was it before or after admissions?
As I said, you have to start applications a year or so before you plan to start school. So it has to be before. I would recommend at least a year before you plan to start. You can start 2 years before you plan to start. So yeah, you have to plan these things ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. With the scholarship application, most of them end a couple of days after the actual admission, or some of them end with actual did I say admission, after the actual application process. So there are two different applications: scholarship applications and school applications. You do them concurrently. You don't wait to finish this one before you do the other one. Or there are some schools that, if they admit you, it means they're giving you scholarship. There are schools like that. But the schools that the external funding that you need to apply, you actually apply with your actual school application concurrently. You don't wait for one to finish, then you'll do the other one.
Yeah.
So there is, yeah, Stephen, go ahead.
Those are very similar. Scholarship applications and scholarship application deadlines and school admission application deadlines are very important that you keep track of and stick to them, because like they said, it could either be before the admission application, or it could be after the admission application. But then it's your responsibility to identify what deadline goes to which one, and then you make sure you're able to submit your documents ahead of time. Now, there are other scholarships which are offered on rolling basis, which means that they are offered as and when people apply to them. And so you also don't want to wait until towards the end or the final day of the scholarship application. That's when you want to submit your application. You're gonna miss out eventually. And so make sure to submit your applications, regardless of whether it's application for admission or scholarship. Make sure to submit it ahead of time, if possible. If it's a month duration, submit it probably a week or two in advance, and that would put you in a very strong position.
Okay, so I have another question here, but it should be quick. So I believe that this student is waiting for his visa interview. The student wants to get a hint, and he's asking, how was your visa acquisition experience? He wants you to share something quick with him.
Well, for most of us here, we were Mastercard scholars, so we did not have to take our get funding letters and other stuff. So I can't talk much about that. But for when I was coming to grad school, I got the letter from my department saying that I have funding. And that's the main funding that I went. And mine was pretty. of a sales smooth. I don't think that's how everybody gets it, but mine was pretty smooth.
Oh, yeah, well, I think if you're funding, I think what the consulates, what they care about the most is whether or not you have funding, because they want to make sure that you are going to school and you're going for what you're getting the visa for. So as long as your funding is secured, especially if you have I know we've been talking about funding a lot, but that it truly is the most important thing. Once you have it, they will. I think all my visa interviews, they just ask, how are you doing today? What are you studying? And then because as long as they see that you have funding, they don't really have much to ask you. Just don't forget your major. I think yeah.
That's an interesting point to raise, John. I would say just be yourself and be honest in your responses. Obviously, they're going to ask you about what you're going to study, maybe why you selected that particular school. These are very basic questions that you should be able to answer. And so be bold and give them your honest responses, and you should be good.
Also, I think that Education USA has more of orientation to give about this
Yeah.
than us. So
I remember a story. Someone was so tense, he forgot his birthday. Like, oh, what's your birthday? And then he forgot because he was sweating, and they were like, please relax. We're here to give you a visa. Yeah. So
So, let me ask this question before we take your final words. People feel living in the USA is dangerous as a result to the recent wave of racism. What is your take on that? How safe is the US? How safe is the Ghanaian students in the US? Do you experience any racism? Did you experience any racism at ASU?
I did not, or even if I did, when I came, I didn't even know it was racism at the time. There are a lot of things that right now, when someone does, I'll be sensitive to it. But I think when I was in my undergrad, I didn't even recognize that some things that I honestly did not really get in at the receiving end of the racist act.
so there is systemic racism in America as a whole, right? But that's a more complicated topic. But I think when you're on campus, the thing about these universities is it's a bubble, right? So I mean, one of the fears as a Black man in America is when you get pulled over by the police. I've been pulled over multiple times.
Same here.
I've been pulled up multiple times, and it's just been like a conversation. I don't think I've ever really feared for my life. I'm not trying to say racism doesn't exist in America, and it really depends on where you are. Like, especially if you're in the Midwest, if you're in like Tennessee or like Alabama or like, but I think Arizona State, because of the campus, it's kind of a bubble. And right here in California too, it's way less. So that's my experience so far.
Yeah, I haven't experienced any form of racism so far, so I cannot contribute much to that.
Thank you for that. I think it's becoming interesting, but our time is also running. So, do you have any final words for us?
I do actually. So people contact me a lot with the processes of going to school in the US. My main answer that I give is that if you contact Auntie Margaret, Auntie Marilyn, those people, mine is just one success story. They have been championing a lot of success stories. So I think it's better you contact the Education USA, and then later on you contact some of us, the individuals, because as I said, mine is just one success story, but the Education USA has a lot of success stories. They have the experience to help you. So let's contact them more. I'm more willing to help when after you get the admission, you need someone to find a rent for you. Actually, I've been doing that a lot for the coming ASU students. I find a place that they will live for them and other stuff. But most of the things, I think Auntie Margaret has the answers more than me.
I would say follow your dreams. I was just some kid born in Sunyani, and I ended up at Stanford, and the founder of Google, Sergey Brin, came over, and we were just in shorts, having a conversation. So I stepped up and was like, wow, I never imagined that I would be in the same room with the founder of Google or like Elon Musk, just so they just come over and hang out. So I would say, follow your dreams, don't give up. It's hard, you have to put in the work, but I think when you put in the work, the fruits of your labor will show.
Well, I think it's great that people have dreams, and also dreams without actions would not materialize. And so, even if you're not thinking about studying in the US, I think it's great for the sake of exposure. Having that international working experience or educational experience would kind of prepare you for success in Ghana. Um, Whatever the situation is, just get the guidance of an Education USA expert, which are the advisors either in Kumasi or Accra. And I hope that they would have other branches across the country too, which would enable all these dreamers to be able to achieve their dreams in the US. It's an exciting place to be, and I hope that you would all put in the effort. Nobody will do it for you if you don't do it on your own, or if you don't show the effort, if you don't give it a head start, nobody would believe in you. So you have to believe in yourself first that you can do it. Get that at the back of your mind. Find out about schools, visit these offices, get whatever information you need. And then we are always available to help you, to provide you whatever information you need. Um, just that in most cases, the three of us might not be able to immediately respond or frequently respond to your messages when you do send them over. But trust me, we are always ready to help you and answer your questions as and when necessary, or as and when they come in. Thank you very much for your time.
Wow. My lovely friends, Andrew, Stephen, and John,
Hi.
on behalf of Education USA Ghana, I say a big thank you for joining us today. You have made a difference. To our cherished viewers, we can't end this program without expressing our appreciation to you. Thank you for watching Education USA Ghana's Facebook Live session today. For those who joined late, you can go back to watch the video. Also, don't forget that Education USA is your official source of information on US higher education. Education USA Accra is located at the US Embassy, while Education USA Kumasi is located at Asokwa on the third floor of Top Martins Complex. If you have any questions, do connect with us via email, phone call, or visit us. Kindly check this page for our contact details. You can also visit our website, educationusa.states.gov. Thank you and bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone. Have a wonderful night.